Shalom. Kol Holo Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Raha Hakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. My name's Barad Debal, coming to you from the GMS campus, Indianapolis. And to all those listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. Especially to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that make up the 12 tribes of Israel. As you can see in the, he says, you must be aware of who she is bound to. It says, why women are mentally ill. And the reason for it, really, I was just listening, just clicked on it, just was listening to it, and he made a statement. You see how far I'm into it. He made a statement, and it just sparked some scriptures that I wanted to bring out. And so the point of this video is just, this is an adulterous generation. And a lot of this, you know, is stemmed from Esau, Edom's allowing for men and women or people of the earth to be free, have liberty, so to speak, a form of freedom, which is really not freedom. The liberty in which they have pushed is leading many to death. Okay, to do as you will, spirit. To be who you want to be, spirit. To be to love who you want to love, spirit. And so, because of this, many of our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, that make up the 12 tribes of Israel, have turned from the ways of the Heavenly Father, and have went into the world. And even at camp, it was mentioned, you know, how it was a rare growing up. And I remember the same. It was rare to grow up and be around any person that was so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian who would actually say that they did not believe in a high power. But now, as we're at the end, you actually see it more and more. It's becoming more and more prevalent amongst our people. So I'm gonna hit play here, and again, I got like a few scriptures. Hopefully, it's edifying unto the elect body of true believers.
That if you've met your woman in today's time, if you've met your woman and you're over the age of 25, maybe, but definitely 30. If you're 30 years old and over, and you're just now meeting the person you're in a relationship with, I don't care if she's the sweetest thing on the planet. I don't care if she's cooking your meals, massaging your back, doing whatever, you know, women do for her men. I don't care how good it seems, man. You have to understand that your woman, on a spiritual level, on a chemical level, on the deepest of levels, is still bonded to somebody. Now, I'll say this, like there's a good chance that over time you can be that person, but it's quite rare, to be honest. Because once that initial bond is created, it's almost, and I don't want to go down this road, but it's almost until, as long as that person is breathing on this planet, that bond is still present. Like that, like when we say until death do us part, you got to understand that's not a man-made thing. That's like when that connection is made, it's actually a connection until one of these entities passes on, and that spirit is.
So that's the point that I wanted to get. There's a couple things that he had mentioned, and that's the main one. The first one to state that, you know, in the first part of it is that, you know, when a woman, that's why the scriptures always speak about, you know, getting a woman of marriageable age, you know, that's of age to be married, that is a virgin, okay, that hasn't been touched, all right, because and the scriptures talks about how, you know, the father, you know, plays a significant role in giving the daughter over to a man. There's also a thing that the scriptures talk about, having tokens of virginity, which means when a man lays, when the marriage comes together, The families come together, which is also a contractual thing. Families coming together. The man would lay with that woman, and he would break the hymen, which is another way of saying, opening and tearing the package. Okay, breaking the package. And she would, and because of that, she would bleed, and through that blood, it would go onto the bed, to the sheet, and then they would give that to the father or to the parents of the bride, and that would be the token of virginity, which goes into further, because then there became a time where men, who then tried to get divorced or wanted to get divorced, saying that they found her not a virgin, and and the father of the house, would bring forth the tokens of virginity, showing proof that, hey, we made this agreement, right? So, not to get too far off, just wanted to kind of give like some backstory as to, the importance, one, of the father being in the home, and you can see in today's time, when they were getting married and being married, the father, symbolically would hand the daughter off to her husband, her soon-to-be husband. Well, that was kind of what was going on in ancient times. But you would have that token of virginity. Also, there would be a payment, shekels. The man would give 50 shekels of silver. There would be payments or some type of agreement, because the woman, okay, again, she's the possession of the father. She leaves the possession of the father under his house, and then she goes under the house of her husband. I did a video some time ago, saying the Israelite woman is the possession of the man, of the Israelite man. And of course, very soon, all the elect, starting with the elect of Israel, the whole world under Yahweh Shai will be under Israel's possession. But just to get into the second point, it's very important. And actually, there's three. So that was a point. Then the other point was you had the man, the very first man that slept with that woman. He's not only whether it be impregnating her or placing, again, his seed, his DNA within her. There is a scientifically, they're finding that that there is a chemical connection with that first man, and that and pretty much every man that a woman sleeps with thereafter, she then is mixing. It's like mixing of seed. Okay, which they have shown that women that like in their 90s, they actually have looked in science, and you can look this up, where they found that they could see the DNA of different men that she had been with, and as far as the seed of the man, they could tell because it sticks with that woman, and so this is where, again, the woman's putting on the vibration of that man, and the different men that she is with. Okay, so that's why they've been speaking on. It's been a big thing in the last few years or so about a woman's body count, because again, Esau Edom, so-called white man, has given the woman, letting them say, hey, it's cool to gad abroad where the scriptures speak otherwise. And when a woman gads abroad, she is more susceptible. She's the weaker vessel, more vulnerable, more susceptible to open herself up to many men. And scriptures speak about a woman, that will open up her quiver, open up her legs to every arrow, if you can get that the drift. So as he also mentioned, last point, and then I'll get the scriptures. What he also mentioned was that you're spiritually bonded to that person for as long as he live, and so that actually is very spiritual. And I'm going to pull up some scriptures connected to that. And so a woman is connected to the man as long as he live. And you could think, and there's a thought that I had back, some time ago, like every person um, that has had um, sexual intercourse for their first time, or have sexual intercourse, they pretty much remember their first time and the first person they were with, and how it felt, and whether good, bad, whatever, however the case was, how if it was taken advantage of, because there's a lot of things that have happened in this current evil present world, but many men and women can all practically date back to the first time that they had um, sexual relations. And so, there's an imprint, a marking that actually happens, in the spirit. And so, like you said in here in this video, it says in why women are mentally ill. Because again, when you are going around and if they have husbands and then they go out on girls trips and then they lay with other men, or they, just committing adulterous acts. There's, things that scriptures talk about, the spirit of jealousy, how, the man at some point, have this jealousy. And then they used to, in the ancient times, they would go before the elders, and there was a way that it was a way that things were approached in righteous order. But in any case, let's go ahead and get to the scriptures. Excuse me, the rant. But we're going to start with book of Romans, chapter 7, verse 2 through 3. It says, "For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law of her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband." So again, when that laying with someone, that is pretty much a sacred thing. It's a personal thing between that man and that woman. And what happens is that when, of course, we're talking mainly about the woman, because she is the possession of the man. The man could actually have many wives. The man has to make sure that the woman that he's dealing with is not the possession of another man. But because of all of this giving in marriage and then divorcing, or having, like how this system would tell you, you can have a boyfriend. Used to hear the women tell younger women, play the field. You don't know, you need to test different rods, for the lack of terms, but you need to try out different men, and to see what type you like. And that's not how it is to be. And it's like, and so going further, he says, "But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband." So there's a vibration. So again, that's why we're saying that many women, when he made the statement, growing up personally, when he made the statement saying that women were, if they're like 25 to 30 to 40, he's like, he's pretty much like, they have not, you're dealing with multiple spirits, multiple men that they have been with, multiple experiences. And so it's a thing that they called in the world also para bonding. So it makes it that much harder for her to actually bond with you, though she may really, really like you. Something in her chemical makeup is keeping her from being fully attached. And so that's why our head apostles and elders would tell you that, she's not your woman, or this is only your turn. Because pretty soon in the kingdom, the Lord's going to set everything straight. And he's going to make everything right when he gives us new bodies, and he changes the system of things that is currently present. So, but he says, she is loose from her husband. So now you got this man who has laid with this woman. She was a virgin, and whatever reason they're not together. and he leaves off. Now she gets with another man, and or she goes to college or whatever situation, and she's now sleeping with all these different men, and she never really gets the connection of that first one that she had. And so and I liken it, could be wrong, but I liken it to like what people would say, as I've never done it, but I would hear stories about people talking about when they when they took certain drugs like heroin or crack for the first time. It's like they get that high, they get that euphoric feeling, and then they said after that they're always chasing that feeling, and that dopamine high. They're always chasing it from that point forward, and they never seem to actually get back to the first time. That's how I kind of likening this understanding of it. When women have their first, they lay down with a man for the first time, and that seal has been open, and the feeling that comes from it, and then from that point forward, if they're no longer together, they continuously are looking and chasing that first feeling. It says, and then thereafter, the woman then is defiled. And I'll show you. It says, so then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. So that's why, because again, the man is the first man that the woman's laid with, it is considered her husband. Yahweh Shai spoke to a woman, I believe it's a woman at the well, and he actually said, "Hey, where's your husband?" And she's like, I don't have a husband." He said, "You well said, but you had 5 men." It was 5 men that she had dealt with, and she wasn't calling them her husband. So just even in ancient times, those things were happening, but how much worse in these times, right? She's had 5. You got women who are prizing themselves to have, when they say they have 100 bodies. There's a woman who actually took a whole day and some time to break a record to lay with 100 one day, and then another like 1,000 another time. And so they're prizing themselves in these things, not understanding that they're defiling themselves mentally, physically, and we say spiritually, which is the most important thing, which is going to lead to many of these women's death. It says she is free from that law, so that she being no adulteress, though she be married to another man. So when that man dies, according to the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, when that man is no longer living, she is then free to marry another, especially if she's young, maybe didn't have children with that man, or she had children, and then the man passes away for whatever reason. So the Lord has his reasons when he tells us things. This is the book of actually, this is there was a Adulterous. That's what I need to look up. I had this Adulterous. It says this is Strong's G 3428. I'm gonna click this here.
Strong's G 3428. Mochalis.
Okay. It says an adulteress. It says the intimate alliance of the Most High with the people of Israel was likened to a marriage. And I got a scripture for that. It says those who relapsed into idolatry are said to commit adultery or play the harlot. All right. And then it says figurative, equivalent to faithless, to the Most High, unclean, apostate. So you had this is adulterous. Yahweh Shai said, this is what Yahweh Shai said, the book of Matthew, chapter 4. Actually, let me try this again. Well, he mentions about he says a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. It says there's shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of Jonah, and he left them and departed. So just to show, a wicked and adulterous generation, one that is faithless to the Most High, a generation that is sleeping around with many different men, a generation that is going into all forms of idolatry and wicked lust, lasciviousness. They go into these, it's coming out that many of these people are going to men taking their wives to these swing parties where they're sharing their women. That's adultery. Men in the raps, men are looking for women. They're saying that women who are married are the easiest to lay down with, and because they'll sneak off and do their freak off, no diddy, and then go back to their husband like nothing happened. The scriptures talk about how they will wipe their mouth and said, I have done no wickedness, in the Proverbs, and continue on like nothing happened. And just not to get too, it's just different thoughts that are coming to mind, but this is the generation in which we're in. Faithless, baseless, and lacking the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So that's just one form of why the judgment is gonna come. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verses 2 through 9. It says, and the Pharisees came unto him and asked him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife? Tempting him. And he says, and he answered and said unto them, What did Moses command you? He says, and they said, Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement and to put her away. And back in that time, they would put your woman away because she got too old, or you might see that there's another woman you can't take care of the first. So men had their different reasons that they were putting away women, because they wanted to go after their own lust, right? And he's going to explain. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, For the hardness of your heart, right, being stubborn, right, the hardness of your heart, he wrote you this precept. But from the beginning of creation, the Most High made them male and female. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. So then they shall no more twain, but one flesh. So they became two, and then they become one. And it tells us in the scriptures of how, like, if another man, sleeps with another man's wife, it's like he killed that man, right? So now you've a union between a man and a woman makes them one, okay? And then he says further, especially when they have not been, with another man. Okay, when that woman has not been with another man, he says, what therefore the Most High have joined together, let not man put asunder. So there's the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Everything is under his rule and under his power, right? And so men tend to get together with a woman, or and then we'll put her away. And the Lord, like I said, none of these things happen by mistake. Okay, this isn't a free will. All right, but hardness of the man's heart will put away their women, and then when she leaves, like it tells you, she leaves, you cause her to commit adultery because you've put her away, and now with her being young, she's maybe burning, and then she goes and she gets with another man. So you have caused her to commit adultery. This is the book of Jeremiah. It's the last. Jeremiah, chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. He says, They said, if a man put away his wife and shall go from him, and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? So that's where we're talking about these women having mental issues, and then they go and they sleep with all these men, and then eventually they decide, hey, I want to settle down, but then they start to bug out. So, crash out. They start to be weird and start to have certain expectations of certain things that are happening. Never really bonding with that man, spiritually, though they're there with them. So when adultery happens, it does a disconnect. Okay, but Yahweh Bashim Yahushai through the Spirit, he's married unto the children of Israel, and he lives forever, and so by his power, he has made that amendment, that he would bring us back, and he would deal with us like only he can, because his ways are not our ways. All right, his ways are higher than ours. All right, and only he, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, can fix it. All right, it says, but thou hast played the harlot, and that's what we remember in adultery, as a nation. He's talking about Israel as a nation, right? It says, but thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, said the Lord. All right, so we have to now understand, within our own personal lives and just in general, this adulterous generation is just an example, or how do I say it? It's just a result of Israel not being in their righteous state, going into other gods and playing the harlot, committing adultery, spiritually, against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And many people, they're an elect that he is saved, that will come back unto him, that he has pardoned. But there are going to be many, 2/3, many of Israel that's going to die of grievous death. It says, verse 2, lift up thine eyes unto the high places, and see where thou hast not been lying with. It says, in the ways hast thou sat, for them as the Arabians in the wilderness, and thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness. So again, to go out and have many lovers. If you have a husband, as women, you go out and you have many lovers, go lay with many other men. It's wickedness, and as in that land you would be polluted. All right, and so it's at this very moment, what will be the remedy is to repent. Come back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and not to do it anymore, and then hope that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai have mercy for all our transgressions that we've done in our past, and that's from physical and spiritual adultery. So I hope that this lesson was edifying unto the body. Before I end, I like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Raha HaKadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. Until next time, all those listening and learning to you, I say Shalom.